Hi, I'm Mark from eReplacementParts.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the anvil on a Makita impact driver. The anvil is the part of your impact driver where the bit goes. Over time, the anvil will wear down and will need to be replaced. It can wear either on the front portion where the bit goes in, or on the back where the hammer strikes against the anvil. We'll show you how to replace that now. We'll start by removing the chuck. I'll use a couple of small screwdrivers to do this. There's a retaining ring on the front of the chuck that needs to be pried away. With the retaining ring out of the way, the flat washer will come off, as well as the spring and the chuck body. Underneath the chuck body, there's two ball bearings. You'll want to be careful not to lose those. With the chuck removed, now we can move on to the housing. First, I'll remove this rubber piece on the nose of the impact driver. Now this plastic portion of the housing. There's two tabs on the front that hold it in place. I'll release those. And then there's a little tab underneath on the top that I'll lift up, and that'll let the housing slide off. And now we'll remove the screws on the housing. And then there's two more screws on this rear portion of the housing. With all of the screws removed, now I can remove this rear piece of the housing, flip the tool over, and now the front. Now we have access to the internal components on the impact driver. I want to pull the gearbox away from the motor. I just lift it up and pull it away from the motor spindle. Now that I have the transmission removed from the rest of the driver, you'll notice on the bottom of the transmission there's a hex-shaped area. I can clamp this in a vise to secure the transmission body. On the top of the transmission body, there's another hex-shaped area. I can grab that with a wrench and use the wrench to unscrew the two halves of the body. I'll use a clockwise rotation as this is a reverse thread. With the rear of the transmission removed, now I can go ahead and pull the gears out of the transmission. I'll set those aside. And in the bottom of the gearbox, I can push the anvil out and remove it. Now we can go ahead and install our new anvil and reassemble the transmission. I'll drop the anvil down into the transmission body and slide it through the hole in the end. Next, I'll drop the gears back into the transmission and then replace the rear of the transmission. And I'll put it back in the vise and tighten it down. And again, counterclockwise to tighten it because it is a reverse thread. Now I'll install the transmission back into the drill body. You'll notice the top of the transmission has a small tab. This tab goes down towards the switch. I'll thread the motor spindle into the transmission, aligning the gears, and now there's a bearing that needs to get pressed into the transmission body. And I'll just use a small screwdriver to tap that into place. And now it's just a matter of aligning all the tabs and notches on everything back into the body. Like that. With our transmission back into the drill body, now I can go ahead and replace the housings. Start with the side housing, and then the rear housing, and now I'll put back in all the screws. Now just snap the front housing back in place and replace the rubber ring. And last, I'll reassemble the chuck. I'll start by replacing the 2 ball bearings. Slide the chuck collar down over the spindle. Replace the spring, the flat washer, and hold it all together with the retaining ring. And again, I'll use a small screwdriver to help me snap that retaining ring in place. Like that. And that's how you remove and replace the anvil on a Makita impact driver. If you found this video helpful, please feel free to leave a comment or ask us a question.